It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news to the stories behind the headlines. This is Storicon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories for watching this Tuesday, November 11. The death toll from Super Typhoon Uwan has killed 18 people as of today. 28 others were injured while 2 remain missing. More than 2.7 million people have been affected, with 425 areas experiencing severe flooding. Authorities continue to assess the full extent of damage caused by Uwan, which has already weakened into a severe tropical storm. It is now outside the Philippine Air responsibility, but could re-enter PAR tomorrow evening. The Department of Justice clarifies it has not received any official copy of an alleged ICC arrest warrant against Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. State Chief Counsel Dennis Chan says the Philippines has 2 possible legal options under RA 9851, extradition or surrender. He adds that the government is still awaiting Supreme Court guidance before deciding which option may apply. Earlier, ICC-accredited lawyer Cristina Conti said extradition is not possible since such is only effective only state to state, something the ICC is not. Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson has been re-elected as chairman of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Among Lacson's plans is inviting Leyte Congressman Martin Romualdez and 17 other lawmakers to the inquiry. That hearing on anomalous flood control projects is set for Friday, November 14. Former Ako Bicol Party List Congressman Zaldi Co will also be invited to participate via online teleconference. Malacanang says the intelligence community is now monitoring the post of former columnist Mon Tulfo, which had a list of people being watched for their part in an alleged destabilization plot. On social media, Mon Tulfo named, among others, General Romeo Poquis of the Air Force, or retired General Romeo Poquis of the Air Force, Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, former Bucor Chief Gerald Bantag, lawyers Ferdinand Topacio and Vic Rodriguez, and Senator Rodante Marcoleta. The supposed financiers of the alleged coup plan are VP Sara Duterte and brother Davao Congressman Pulong Duterte and former Ilocos Sur Governor Chavit Singson. The Dutertes have already denied Tulfo's claim, while the palace says this development needs validation.
Ito po ay napansin na po ng AFP at nabanggit nga rin po ang mga pangalang katulad ni General Poquis, General Orlando De Leon at saka si Mayor Benji Magalong. Although for confirmation. At iba pa, pati si Colonel Achica na di umanong sangkot sa usapin ng 125 million pesos na confidential funds ng Vice Presidente. Ayon po sa AFP, sa mga gintong klaseng mga sinasabi, although ito ay nasa social media, at sa kanila po, ito po ay ibinibigay na rin po sa kanilang intelligence community, iminomonitor, inaalam ang katotohanan. Hindi naman po ibig sabihin na nasabi sa social media, ito ay agad na dapat paniwalaan. So, kailangan po nilang i-validate, at sa ngayon po, ayon sa AFP, ito po ay pinamomonitor at binigay na po nila sa intelligence community nila.
And joining us today from the Philippine Star, Editor-in-Chief Ami Pamintuan. Ami, magandang hapon.
Hi.
Uy.
Hi, happy Tuesday, Ed.
Kakaibang ano mo ngayon?
Maganda na yung araw.
Oh, lumabas yung araw eh.
Maliwanag ang araw, ano.
Yung mga kasama natin ngayon, si Tito Ronald Llamas, merong mga ka-meeting.
Ay, nakalista dyan kay Montulfo.
Ayoko sabihin, baka maano eh. Baka mausog eh. Basta may mga ka-meeting siya na medyo sensitibo. Si Regina Lay at si Regina Lay merong interview na gagawin in a few minutes. So she's interviewing one of the ambassadors from the EU. So she cannot join us this afternoon. But I think later on si Lourdes Rivera will also be joining us to help out. Kasi may balita rin kayo kay Juan Ponce Enrile?
Inaalam pa.
Okay, we are still confirming some reports, pero I think what we can confirm already is a report quoting Senator Jingoy Estrada kasi nagdasal kanina sa Senado for former Senate President, former Defense Secretary and current Presidential Legal Counsel
Chief Legal.
Juan Ponce Enrile. Kasi tinakbo sa ICU kanina and medyo delikado yung lagay. But as far as I can say right now, dahil there are things that we still have to confirm. Pero that much I think we can say kasi that's quoting Senator Jinggoy Estrada that si Juan Ponce Enrile was rushed to the ICU. I think
Ayan naman, di ba?
yeah.
Ayan ang video mo.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's the one. May respiratory problem at medyo very very sensitive ang kanyang kalagayan kanina. I cannot say beyond that because we have to confirm certain things. So, but that much we already know. Hinga. No, file video pala to,
Standby
Ami.
lang tayo.
File video pala to. This is not the latest video.
Okay.
Ito luma pa to.
So anyway, naka-standby pa rin. Kung ano yung mga latest.
I'm sorry, just to be clear to everybody, this is file video you're seeing. This is not the latest video of Juan Ponce Enrile. This was a video taken nung na-dismiss yung which was this? Yung promulgation ng charges niya sa pork barrel. Several weeks ago pa to.
Medyo matagal na yan.
Medyo matagal pa, but at the same time, it's also our last video.
Some weeks ago.
Or also our latest video of Juan Ponce Enrile. Si JPE, of course, for those of you who are not aware, he turned 101, I think, in February, February this year.
Yeah, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day
niya.
siya eh. He turned 101.
Yes.
So actually, he's the oldest serving government employee because he is a Presidential Legal Counsel. So yun.
Yes.
At medyo mahaba-haba
Na-awardan nga siya nung di ba, yung 100,000.
No. Oo nga.
Nung nag-100 siya.
Well, but a bit of background. Ikaw, mas matagal kang reporter sa akin eh.
Na-cover ko yan nung defense. Nung defense reporter ako.
Nung defense
Pero
minister pa
tapos
siya.
after People Power, kalakasan pa niya nun.
Nung defense secretary siya under Cory.
Nung defense secretary siya before the coup kasi. Remember, by November, tanggal na siya.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah, before
By
the
November,
God Save the Queen plot.
Yan na nga, yun, lumabas na yung mga Ramboys na kasama niya. Siyempre, puro bata niya yun eh.
Teka,
Yun,
Ami.
siya natanggal, tapos nagkaroon ng mga kaso, di ba?
Ami, atras ka pa ng konti. Marami nanonood sa atin na hindi na inabot yan.
Saan mo gusto umpisahan?
Sige, simulan natin sa talagang
Kasi People Power,
pinaka-umpisa.
di ba? Sila ni Fidel Ramos broke away at humiwalay kay Fabian Bel na
kasi
yung
nung
mga
panahon
power
yun,
blocks nung
si
panahon
Enrile
ng
was defense
origin ng
minister.
first Marcos eh. Di ba? Yan yung nag-split.
Enrile
Si
was
Imelda
defense minister
Marcos
of
with
Marcos.
Fabian Bel, si Enrile with Fidel Ramos. Remember, si Ramos is also a relative, no? Relative ni Marcos. Fabian Ver also is a relative. Pero ayan, talaga naman ganyan dito sa atin eh. Tapos, naging defense secretary si Juan Ponce Enrile. At yun, doon ako nag-cover nung panahon na yun. Tapos, pagdating ng November, nagkaroon ng coup plot. Remember, I think nag-umpisa yan dun sa Manila Hotel, di ba?
Yeah.
Sa Manila Hotel, nandun pa nga yung dating Vice President ni Ferdinand Marcos, si Arturo Tolentino, kasama doon sa mga nagrarally doon. Tapos yun na nga, ang gusto yata, siyempre Ramboys yun, mga bata niya yon, ang gustong i-install, si Enrile. Remember, that was a revolutionary government.
Yeah.
1 year tayo
Wala
under
pang,
a revolutionary
konstitusyon.
government. So, anything actually can happen eh. Kahit nag-oath-taking si Cory Aquino as president, madali siyang palitan. Wala pa tayong constitution, dissolve yung kongreso. Tapos yun na nga, nagkaroon tayo nung coup na yun na medyo medyo delikado yun. Ang tawag nila yung God Save the Queen. Tapos yun na nga, nagkaroon ng, I think that was the time na Leon Alejandro, around that time was assassinated, ano?
And Olalia.
Yes,
ito yung
na ang suspetsya nila, mga right-wing groups.
To destabilize that
nakasama
country.
daw yun sa destabilization.
Para magalit yung yung kaliwa at makatake advantage yung kanan.
Tapos, yun, nagka-break apart yung original People Power Group at natanggal as defense chief si Juan Ponce Enrile.
And then sinampahan siya ng kasong rebellion complex murder.
Rebellion complex
which the Supreme Court ruled was not in existence.
Hindi pwede.
They're hoping kasi to file a rebellion complex murder para non-bailable. Kasi rebellion itself is bailable pa eh. Pero if you make it complex with murder is non-bailable, you're hoping na sana hindi siya makapag-bail, nakapag-bail.
Pero throughout the presidency of Cory Aquino, remember, walang katapusan ng mga coup attempts. Laging nalilink si Enrile and the Ramboys group.
And Unasan.
Di ba? Kaya ganon.
Si Unasan ay ninong niya, si Enrile.
Naaresto sila. Nawala, hindi na naging hero yung mga Ramboys. Although, of course, yung fan base nila, hindi nawala yun eh. Kahit nagkahulihan na. In fact, sa lakas ng fan base na yun, he became a senator, no? Gringo, and later, Juan Ponce Enrile mismo. Naging Senate President pa nga.
After Cory stepped down, si Ramos came in and offered amnesty and peace talks with the left and the right. Tapos nag-amnesty yung right.
And the Muslims.
And the Muslims. That was 1996 pa. Pero with the right, with the amnesty of the right, nakapag-apply yung mga rebel soldiers, including the rebel officers. Because of that, for example, si Gringo nga ay nakatakbo for the Senate at nanalo. Si Ariel Querubin ay nakapag-amnesty, nakabalik ng Marine Corps kung saan siya ay nanalo pa ng Medal of Valor.
Saka yung sa yung Special Forces, si Danny Lim ba?
Si Danny Lim. Si Danny Lim.
Nakabalik din siya. Naging commander pa yata ng Special Forces, di ba?
Naging general ulit si Danny Lim. Naging general si Danny Lim, tapos nasangkot na naman sa kudeta. Paano ni GMA naman?
GMA.
So,
GMA naman.
Napaka makulay po itong history.
Kaya nung reporter tayo, panahon niya nung mga coup, di ba pumapasok tayo, may dala-dala tayo lagi mga damit, at baka hindi na tayo makalabas.
Sa kotse, may extra clothes, saka may unan, saka may kumot, kasi baka hindi makauwi.
Saka mga panligo. Kasi pag nasa labas ka, hindi ka na makakapasok ng Malacanang eh. Pag nandun ka sa loob, at least hindi ka nila itatapon palabas.
Oo. Tsaka ba't ka palalabas kung naabutan mo na sa loob?
Hindi, wala kang dun. Walang makain dun. Nakikiligo tayo kay Adolf Pascunan. Sa banyo ni Adolf Pascunan.
May bilihan ng turon sa tapat ng sa tapat ng guest house eh. Kinakaway natin yung nabibenta ng turon eh.
Hindi, kami mga babae nakikiligo doon. Kay Adolf Pascunan.
Anyway, Bok, a bit of background. Ito si Enrile has always been the ultimate survivor. He's been able to survive not just so many decades, not just a century, but so many administrations from Marcos all the way up to BBM. And whatever direction the winds blow, he always manages to stay upright. He's been sent to jail. He's been charged with plunder. He survived all these, and he's been able to, the ups and downs eh. Like for example,
dati siyang Justice Secretary din, di ba?
Hindi gito.
Siya.
He started off in government as customs.
Customs, tapos Secretary of Justice,
tapos Ministry of Justice siya. Parang ni Marcos before maging Defense Minister.
Tapos naging Defense nga. Hindi siya naging Defense Secretary siya ba yung Defense Secretary? At
Minister,
remember
Defense
nung
Minister.
Martial law,
Defense
siya
Minister
ang tagapirma ng mga arrest, search, and seizure orders. Siya nakapirma lahat doon. Yung mga lahat ng mga dissident na inaresto, mga political enemies, siya yon, yung ASO.
Sana
ASO tawag
baka we can pull up some portions of that interview we had with Juan Ponce Enrile in 2019 when he was running for another seat in the Senate.
For the Senate.
We had them in the Chiefs. Tapos it was a very controversial interview kasi meron siya mga binitawang mga salita that we were able to challenge. And there were times when he was...
Yung iba nakalimutan niya, hindi ba?
There were times when he was insistent.
Yung iba nakalimutan niya talaga eh.
Yeah.
Yung mga law na pinirmahan niya, remember? Hindi niya matandaan eh.
But that's also but he also has very good memory, So I don't know if
he has a very good memory, kaya lang.
So I don't know if he really forgot.
Meron siyang mga nakalimutan.
But yeah, I don't know if he really forgot or whether it was selective. Kasi he has a very good memory. Kasi I remember when I was talking to him just before interview, he was talking about while in jail, he memorized so many quatrains of a poem by a Persian poet.
Baka nga ano yan.
In Persian, not in English, in Persian. So, medyo ganun siya.
Baka translation.
Oo.
Baka nakakalimutan niya.
Hindi yung English version, it was the original version. So, he at least at that time, is still very sharp. So, when he said that he forgot certain things during our interview, that's
Sabi
what
niya, hindi ko pinirmahan yan.
But I also remember, kasi we were able to challenge certain things that he said nga, and among them, when he was saying na, I never said that we never arrested anybody for their political beliefs. And I said, no, sir, you said that. No, I did not say that. No, sir, you said that in the tete-a-tete with the Bongbong Marcos, in that great big chair. In fact, it's all over social media. You want to play it back? We can play it back. And he says, it must have been one of my unlucid moments. I remember that. It was memorable kasi he said, it must have been one of my unlucid moments.
Oo. Saka speaking of memory, hanggang ngayon hindi pa malinaw sa atin kasi nagganong-ganon siya, di ba, nag-flip-flop. Remember yung ambush on his convoy, na wala siya naman, yun ang ginamit na pretext for the declaration of martial law. Di ba? Nag-iiba-iba istorya niya dyan Hanggang ngayon, di tayo sigurado kung ano talaga yung, although, syempre meron na tayong mga prejudgment ko ano talaga nangyari, pero siya mismo, yung version niya, nag-iiba
That was important. I remember that. That was important kasi when he flipped and declared the mutiny with Fidel Ramos, yung going into EDSA 86, there were two things that he said. Number one, he said na in fact, in my province, we cheated, meaning Marcos, we cheated Cory Aquino by so many 100,000 votes. He said that And number two, and also that he acknowledged in one interview during that time that yung the Wakwak ambush was staged. Ang problema, I don't know if anybody was able to get that on tape. Kasi after that, he would challenge that narrative all the time. Na I never said that the Wakwak ambush was staged.
Hindi, kasi clarify nga niya later, di ba? Kaya dapat may final interview sa kanya,
Would have been good sana,
no? Chief Legal Counsel.
Yeah. Anyway, well,
we talked to him, di ba? We talked to him, kaya lang medyo mahirap ng
Bok, if you want, we can play back the video. I think we have the video.
Sige.
I-post it na lang.
These are the chiefs.
I'm talking to the producer. Baka you can put it up and so we can listen in. I'm talking to the producer, si Jan. Ipo-process pa. I'm sorry. Well, I can't play it back here kasi hindi marinig ni Ami. Oo. But I think it's also on YouTube. Anyway, he's a man who's a man of many faces and many colors and many lives. Bit of background, Bok. Just a bit of background. Born February 14, 1924 in Gonzaga, Cagayan, to Petra Furuganan. Anak ng isang mahirap mangingisda. Born out of wedlock. His father, Spanish mestizo lawyer Alfonso Ponce Enrile.
Di ba laundry woman daw mother niya?
Laundry woman ba or ano? Well, I'm not sure.
Di ba? Laundry woman. The mother is a laundry woman.
But the father was
pero finance siya nung yung patriarch nung household. Yun na nagpaaral sa kanya. Si Ponce Enrile.
And then he traveled to Manila to meet his father.
Yeah.
How he was able to do that? That was a long journey all the way from Cagayan.
Ma-underpatren natin noon.
Okay.
Hindi totoo. Totoo yun, ma-under pa yung trend natin noon.
And the father, I think the real father adopted him na after that. And that's why he was also able to adopt the last name. of the real father.
Ponce Enrile.
And then he became Juan Ponce Enrile. Ayun, and then he took up secondary education in St. James Academy and then Ateneo de Manila for college before going to UP College of Law. And,
College of Law.
Getting his Bachelor of Law degree. Ayun, from there it was...
Honor siya, di ba?
Oh, tuloy-tuloy na. International Honor Society ang kanyang kinabibilangan. 11th in the 1953 bar examinations with 91.72% rating. With a perfect score in mercantile law. That's why he became...
customs.
Oh, customs and ano. He also taught in FEU, among other things. Ayun, ayun. And yan, panahon ni Marcos sa customs before becoming Justice Secretary.
Yeah.
And then, becoming Defense
Nag-shine
Minister.
din siya nung yung panahon naman na yung impeachment ni Renato Corona, remember? Siya yung presiding officer ng Senate.
For which,
he
earned a lot of praise.
Maraming humanga sa kanya na ang galing-galing daw niya, no?
Oo.
Nung panahon na yon.
Nababalanse niya nung panahon yun, at least as far as the public perception is concerned, nababalanse niya yung parehong sides, yung mga anti-corona at mga pro-corona.
And considering na alam ng lahat na kaibigan niya din si Renato Corona, no? Kaya impressed yung mga, even legal circles nun, sabi impressed sila eh. Sharp na sharp daw talaga.
So yun. Pero yun lang, after the impeachment, siya naman tinamaan ng kidlat. Dahil yun na yung pork barrel scam.
Oo nga. Although, from the start yung pork barrel, ang tinuturo nun si Gigi Reyes, di ba? From the start, sinasabi noon na baka medyo mahirapan daw in his case dahil wala nga nung smoking gun na siya yung tumanggap. Isa yan sa mga iniisip ngayon nila Boying Remulla, yung case na yan actually eh. When it comes to plunder cases, kailangan patunayan mo na yung inaakusahan mo directly benefited. In their case, si Gigi Reyes lang daw ang meron na nakakapag-connecta through sino yung dati nilang assistant na babae na yung testimony initsipwera, hindi masyadong inano ng korte. Kaya na-dismiss lahat yung kaso nila.
Pero
in
a way, Bok, the Gigi Reyes alibi is no different from the Richard Cambe alibi, meaning
yes. Although si Gigi nga, yung nagtuturo sa kanya si Ruby Tuason.
Ayun, Ruby Tuason.
Hindi binigyan ng full credence yung testimony ni Ruby Tuason. Di ba that's one of the criticisms of that case eh. Kasi inisip nila at least man lang hanggang kay Gigi Reyes merong mako-convict. Pero up to her walang
And the controversy does not end there, of course, especially not with Juan Ponce Enrile, because eventually the Supreme Court would rule and grant him bail, which in many ways was quite unusual because it was a plunder case.
For an unusual reason, no? For age and humanitarian reasons for age
the first
and frail
time, I think,
health.
that ever happened.
Sabi ng mga tao, ano ka magiging government official if you are in advanced stage and frail health ang excuse mo, di ba? I mean, you need consistency. Isa yan sa mga criticism niyan. Hanggang ngayon, naging chief legal counsel ka. Asan yung frail health mo in advanced age kung gano'n, di ba?
Umabot ba ng 101?
Supreme Court yun eh. Pinagbigyan yung Sandigan Bayan na gano'n ba or Supreme Court? I can't remember.
Supreme Court. It was a Supreme Court ruling. It was a Supreme Court ruling. Only the Supreme Court can make that kind of a ruling.
Oo.
That could not be questioned by anybody else.
Hindi man daw president yan, it was a one-off case. Yan ang sinasabi ng iba.
This is the interview we had with Juan Ponce Enrile in 2019. And unfortunately, I don't know if we can get the audio kasi this one is on YouTube.
YouTube.
Hindi marinig dito yung audio eh. So, sayang naman. Anyway, quite an interesting conversation during that time. He was, when confronted with kasi he was saying na he was saying na, we were not making arrests left and right just because of that. We were arresting people because they were threats to national security, but because they were threats to the lives of, for example, the President and the First Lady. Then we said na, but you also made arrests of people who were in the opposition. Like who? Who did we arrest? My uncle, Amando Dornila, he said si Max Oliven. These were journalists. Remember that? And then he says, but we had to quiet the situation down. So inamin niya eventually.
Inaresto nun.
So inamin din niya.
Writers.
They had to silence people. That's what the phrasing he used was, we had to quiet the situation. That was his phrase, which basically means we had to silence
Alam mo yung national
opposition.
security threat, kanya-kanyang definition yan, di ba? Kung feeling threatened yung administrasyon, national security threat na yon.
Yan po. We're still waiting for word. Ami, wala kang mababalitaan pa dyan?
Wala pa. Mag-ano ka agad yun, di ba? Mag-alert yun.
Lahat ng kabang eh. Okay.
Meron ka modyo na naghihintay dyan, ha?
Sorry, I'm just checking messages kasi sometimes the messages are coming in and giving us more heads up. Okay. Now, we don't have yet any word. Sige.
Wala pa.
Yeah. Okay? Ano po? Walang balita. Okay. Let's bring in, in the meantime, Ami, let's bring in a mobile journalist, our Mojo, with updates from the Senate. We have Amy Atienza from the Senate. Amy, can you hear us?
Yes, narinig naman ito. And yun nga, katulad nga nasabi natin kanina, binigyan naman ng pagdadasal itong naging kalagayan ni former Senator Juan Ponce Enrile dito sa pagsisimula ng plenary session din sa Senado. So, kanina nga, narinig natin si Senator Joel Villanueva na nagsimula ng pagdadasal at nasabi na nga rin na dahil nga currently nasa ICU si former Senator Enrile. Siyempre, binigyan na nila ng pag-alala rin. At siyempre, pagdadasal, para nga mas okay yung kalagayan niya dahil na slim chances din of survival ang nasabi niya sa atin sa paulat. Pero bukod pa dyan, malaking usapin din dito sa Senado yung pagiging chairperson ulit ni Senator Panfilo Lacson sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. So patuloy yung magiging sessions nila at yung plano niya na rin, katulad na nangyari kanina sa ating panayam na sabi niya na by November 14 ay inaasahan na magsisimula na ulit yung Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearings kung saan nga ay may invite daw isang very important na state witness. Well, kapag pa dyan, ay makikita rin natin yung invitation daw at inaasahan natin na makakadalugman si former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, pati na rin yung mga imbita nilang 17 other na congressmen na yun nga sinasabi nilang nadawit yun sa testimony na inilabas din nung mag-asawang si Sara at Bernie Vizcaya matungkol na dito sa anomalous flood control projects. So ayun pa yung mga inaabangan natin sa susunod pang linggo sa Senado. At yun nga, kung pag-uusapan naman natin si former Representative Zaldico, open daw sila sa idea possibility na bias yun na lang, magkaroon ng online testimony si Poe dito sa Senado. At after daw yan, ay i-attest daw ng isang consul yung testimony ni Zaldico para nga daw mas maging credible yung magiging source ito at para nga daw verify yung testimony niya dito sa flood control probe, So yun pa yung ilan pa sa mga aabangan nga natin dito sa Senado at patuloy pa rin naman ang usapin nila dito sa infrastructures. Kanina, narinig na rin natin sa speeches nila Puno. Bukod sa investigation nga nito flood control projects, gusto na rin daw pag-usapan yung sa mga school constructions kasi isa din daw yan sa mga problema na kinaharap ng bansa. Napakaraming backlogs nitong school classroom constructions sa iba't ibang pampublikong paaralan sa bansa. So yun, abangan din natin kung ano pa nga ba mangyayari dyan. At yun nga, kasabay niya, ay syempre nagkaroon na din ng launch ang Senate website. Nagkaroon sila ng panibagong website kung saan mas magiging transparent at accessible para sa publiko. Hindi lamang itong mga bills na pinaya nila, hindi pati na rin yung background, history, pati na rin yung budget na tatalakayin din sa mga susunod na araw po.
Amy, could you give us again as much, as accurate as you can possibly make it, paraphrase yung pagkakasabi ni Jingoy Estrada sa kondisyon ni Juan Ponce Enrile?
Ang nasabi kasi ito kanina, pero non-verbatim pa rin ko, no? Ayun nga, slim chances of survival dahil daw may pneumonia na hinihinda tayo kung siya for Senator Juan Ponce Enrile. At yun nga, syempre, patuloy naman ang pagdadasal nga nila na maging pagbuti ang kalagayan ng Ponce Enrile dahil kung natin isa siya, kung hindi man siya, parang pinakamaganda na may former senator dito sa ating bansa. So, ayun, patuloy lang din naman ang kanilang simpansya, kanilang pagdadasal para kay former senator.
Medyo nawawala-wala yung audio ni Amy.
Oo nga.
Amy, ikaw.
Hindi ko marinig eh.
Amy, you wanna ask a question?
Amy, puntahan ko lang yung election ni Senator Lacson as Blue Ribbon. Can you tell us about the voting? Sino-sino yung mga hindi bumoto para sa kanya?
Yan, so confirm pa natin ito, Amy. Kasi kanina rin narinig natin kasi nagkaroon din tayo ng panayam naman kay Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano. At nasabi niya naman yung pagtutuloy nitong Blue Ribbon Committee hearing, syempre magkakaroon pa rin naman daw ng active participation ang minority group. Kanina nga sa pagsisimula din ng session dito sa Senate, medyo hindi natin nakita yung sa mga controversial na senador na si Senator Baco de la Rosa. Pero yun nga, habang kasi nagkakaroon ng tutungan dito sa Senado, nakakapalayang din natin si Minority Leader Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. Nasabi niya na i-assume niya naman na ang minority ay mayroon pa yung proper participation pagdating dito sa mga flood control projects na investigation, pati na rin sa iba pang gagawin dito sa loob ng Senado.
Okay.
Amy, sa Friday, di ba normally pag Friday walang hearing? Bakit Friday yung hearing?
Yun yung gustong ipagpatuloy nila, most likely siguro sa availability din, pero ipo-confirm din natin yan kung bakit nga ba yun yung napiling date para dun sa investigation. Pero kanina rin nagsasabi ni Senator Ping Lacson na may chance daw kasi na magtutuloy-tuloy na rin yung sessions dito sa loob ng Senado, lalong-lalo na dahil from the House of Representatives ay tinaas na rin dito sa Senado yung budget naman for 2026. So expected natin na bukas daw kasi magkakaroon na nga ng sponsorship sa budget. So tuloy-tuloy na din yung magiging trabaho ng Senado from Monday to Friday. At yun nga, hopefully daw, mabakitin nga ito nga November 14 para itong Blue Ribbon Committee hearing. Yun nga, patungkol nga dito sa flood control projects at sa mga nagdadawit na congresses.
Okay. Amy, bitaw muna natin si Amy kasi medyo yung audio niya medyo mahirap pa i-follow Maraming salamat sa iyo.
Hindi ko marinig mabuti.
Oo nga Amy Atienza from the Senate. Amy, basahin ko lang sa iyo yung pinadalang advisory ng ating reporter ng TV5 dun sa Senado, si Camille Samonte. Itong kanyang advisory. Ipinagdasal ng Senado si dating Senate President at ngayon Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Juan Ponce Enrile. Ayon kay Senator Jingoy Estrada, nasa ICU raw ngayon si Enrile dahil sa pneumonia at malubha ang kanyang kalagayan. Si Senator Joel Villanueva ang nag-lead ng prayer at hiniling ang paggaling ni Enrile na 101 na po ang edad. Ito yung quotation kay Jingoy, and we quote, "I have received sad information that our former colleague, former SP Enrile, is currently in the ICU of an undisclosed hospital suffering from pneumonia. I heard from reliable sources that he has slim chances of surviving, and I hope all of us here can have a short prayer to be led by Senator Joel Villanueva." Yan yung advisory ng reporter ng TV5 sa Senadong si Camille Samonte. At yun po yung quotation, yung quote from Senator Jingoy Estrada on the condition of Enrile.
So naka-standby pa rin tayo.
So yun. Anyway, we'll just go into a gap and then we'll come back in a while. So please stay tuned to Storycon for this breaking story on Juan Ponce Enrile. We just need to take a break. We'll be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. And also joining us this afternoon is former Congressman Mike Defensor. Sir, magandang hapon and thank you for joining us.
Yes, Ed, good afternoon, and also Ma'am Ami, good afternoon po.
Hi, Congressman.
Okay. Sir, marami tayong pag-usapan ngayon. Di ba, Ami, marami tayong pag-usapan ngayon. Pero let me start off with this. Balikan ko lang yung our interview 2 weeks ago. Ang sabi po ninyo, si Gutesa is with the Marines, but we have a straight denial from the Marines and the AFP. He is not daw with the Marines. So, do you still stand by that statement? And do we know for a fact, do we know with any reasonable certainty that he is with the Marines?
Well, actually, Ed, the information that I got, ang sinabi sa akin, na kasama niya yung mga kasama niya sa Marines, no? As to the actual location, as I've said, hindi ko talaga alam, no? Hindi ko siya nakakausap. In fact, may binibigyan lang siya ng message, and yung message na yun, dumadaan pa sa isang tao para makarating sa amin. So as far as I'm concerned, ang pagkakaalam ko talaga, kasama niya yung mga Marines and nandun siya doon sa area nila. I'm not sure particularly where, pero nandun siya doon sa area nila.
You mean you don't know if he's in the Marine headquarters or if he is staying with Marines outside the headquarters?
Kung nandun siya sa headquarters, kung nandun siya sa barracks, but I'm from the information I got, no, nandun siya somewhere in the compound, doon sa Marine area nila, doon sa like if you're talking of Camp Aguinaldo, nandun siya somewhere. I do not know where exactly. I understand sa Bonifacio yon, sa Marine headquarters. As to the particular area or particular place, wala akong ganyang information.
Kasi sir, Bonifacio sir ang Marines eh. The Marine Barracks is in Fort Bonifacio. I've been there several times. And they do have a guard there, and they screen people coming in and out.
Tama. And yun nga, yung nabanggit ko, may kasama siyang grupo na ex-Marines. Ang una nga, pagkakalam ko, mga na active, yung mga nandun na mga kasama niya pa, dahil yun naman ang sinabi niya talaga, na nandun ako, kasama ko yung aking mga grupo. So, yun, ang information ko lang eh. So, hindi ko talaga masabi kung wala akong information kung sino talagang kasama, kung mga active ba yan. But definitely, nandun yung mga grupo niya, yung mga kamista niya who are now retired. At saka dun sa particular area location, wala akong ganyang information.
Ani?
May balita po ba kayo, Congressman, kung may balak pa siyang lumabas ulit kasi hinahanap na siya ng Senado in particular. At saka, I'm sure hinahanap din siya ni Senator Marcoleta, no? Dahil siya din naman yung nalapitan niya eh. Baka naman may balita na kayo on his whereabouts. Nandito pa ba siya? Halimbawa.
Yes, Mami, ang isang tinanong ko is yung court case niya sa Manila. Kasi ang information na nakuha doon, sabi sa decision, na hindi daw siya umattend doon sa summons na ibinigay. And rinig namin sa pamilya, kasi yung pamilya naman nasa bahay pa nila, na wala daw sila nakukuha ang official summons from the court. So I would think, kung merong makakarating na subpoena coming from the Senate Committee, that it will reach Sergeant Gutesa.
At sa tingin nyo, pag sinomon siya, haharap naman siya?
Definitely, Mamami, definitely ako dyan. Kasi katulad nga ng binanggit nyo, yun naman paglapit niya, wala namang nag-udyok sa kanya. No? Dala yun ng kanyang paniniwala at saka konsensya na he wanted to expose what was happening. And kung mapapansin naman natin sa affidavit, narinig ko na nga rin yung abogado ni Saldi ko eh. Sabi niya, ano ngayon, kung nag-deliver ng pera, doesn't mean na corruption yun or doesn't mean anything. So, hindi naman siya dininay eh. May ganong admission yung abogado na nandun. Hindi na sinabing wala si Gutesa, hindi namin tao yan. But ang sinabi lang niya, hindi pa yung evidence. So, I would like to, sana, without imposing on the Blue Ribbon Committee, na tingnan nila yung mga binanggit ni Sergeant Gutesa.
Sir, kailan niyo huli baling nakakontak si Gutesa, whether in person or through a third party? Third party lang ba ang inyong contact, or are you able to speak or chat directly with him, whether through online or face to face?
Ang nangyayari sa amin, Ed, meron siyang binibigyan ng information. Ang alam ko, meron daw telepono na naaabot pa rin sa pamilya and nababanggit. So ang nangyari pa nga sa akin, hindi pa third party. May bibigyan siya ng message, may pupuntang message yun, kesa lang marirelay sa akin. In fact, si Senator Marcoleta totally wala. Pag kami binanggit lang sa akin ng message, I relay this to him. So this happened siguro mga 4-5 days ago na merong message na pinarating sa akin. And ang pagkakalam ko, ang sinabi is attend sila sa committee hearing.
That was 5 days ago. So paano yun, sir?
4-5 days ago.
Oo.
So, they will attend the committee hearing.
Oo. So willing ko siyang umattend sa committee hearing. Pero may binabanggit pa, sir, na he still maintains his same story or if he's changing his story or if he's revising his story?
Previous to that message, nung 4-5 days ago, ang parating sinasabi naman is matibay si Sergeant Gutesa, okay naman paninindigan. Of course, ang parating nire-relay is nag-worry para sa pamilya. So, may ganun siyang worry sa pamilya. At hanggang doon lang yung message na nakukuha namin.
Apart from the family, nag-worry, meron bang pinarating sa inyo na nag-aalala siya for his safety? I'm sure pinoprotektahan siya ng mga marine, pero mga medyo big time to mga nagte-testify siya na sinabit niya dyan sa corruption Meron ba siyang pinarating sa inyo na meron na ako natatanggap na mga directly death threat or something like that?
Mamami, nabanggit ko to sometime 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Meron silang binanggit na may pumapaikot sa kanya under surveillance. As I've said, hindi ko nga alam Sabi ko, ano ba yan? Saan ba yan? So I was thinking na nandun pa rin sa Marine Compound, no? Kung paano siya napapaikutan dun or paano siya nasa surveillance, hindi ko alam. But as far as I know, ang worry niya talaga is not for himself, pero dun sa pamilya niya. So kung siya lang siguro, wala ako nakikitang takot kay Sergeant Gutesa, pero pagdating sa pamilya, hindi ko naman siya masisisi kung may ganyang talagang takot o may ganyang pangamba for the family. Kasi 4 ang anak niya, Ma'am Ami, nag-aaral pa lahat. And meron pang high school pa ata siya. And yun nga, may lahat pumapasok sa eskwelahan.
Kabilang ako, Ami. Sige, go ahead.
Merong mga speculation, no? Speculative reports at kung ano-anong mga alam naman dito sa atin na may mga politicians, well, apart from you, of course, na behind this story of Gutesa. Ano po yung masasabi niyo doon na na mga kakampi niyo raw, ganon?
Ma'am, wala talagang ganun In fact, ang katotohanan nga, ang dami nga, ako din mismo, kinakausap nila, sino bang kausap mo, sinong nagpapunta dyan.
Yes.
Si Sergeant Gutesa approached me on his own, nung kinuwento niya sa amin yon, and talagang at the back of my mind, ayoko talaga sanang makisali. Kasi, ma'am, syempre, nasa private sector ka, may mga negosyo ka, may mga ginagawa ka, and I don't want to be part nitong gulo. Pero iniisip ko rin naman, pag hindi ko naman in-expose si Gutesa, o hindi ko, kasi gusto niya makausap si Senator Marcoleta, ikwento niya yung nangyayari. Parang mabigat din sa konsensya ko. So sabi ko sa kanya, wag mo na akong kwentuhan. Mas snippets Maraming mga kwento talaga. Snippets, stories of different kinds. Sabi ko, i-relay mo na yan kay Senator Marcoleta. And in fact, during that pag-uusap nila, sinabi ni Senator, nag-uusap sila, sabi, para sa bayan to, magsalita ka kung pwede, talagang sabihin mo itong mga nangyayari na nalalaman mo. And one of the stories that he told me, sabi niya, alam mo sir, sa totoo lang, may grupo ata ng mga Bicolano doon sa mga ex-Marines. And sabi nga ang sama ng loob kasi binahadin yung mga bahay. Tapos doon nila na-realize na, ito pala mga ginagawa natin, itong perang ganitong kalalaki, dyan pala galing sa flood control ghost project. So, that was the trigger na maraming ganong pag-uusap. As of now, ang balita ko, ma'am, yung 90 na kasama niya, nandyan pa rin. Pinull out yung active police, pero nandyan pa rin daw sila. And sabi ko nga, sana matanong din itong mga to because sila talaga yung may information first hand doon sa mga nangyayaring bigayan at lalahan ng pera.
Sir, kami lang ng konti. Yung column, post ni Mon Tulfo tungkol daw dito sa paparating na rally, November 16, 17, and 18, meron daw kayong papel at hindi lang papel tungkol sa rally pero papel sa distab. That's, I'm only quoting from Mon Tulfo. Kayo ba? Ano bang papel nyo rito?
Kasi totoo na dun sa pag-organize ng rally, kasama ako dyan. Pero yung sasabing distab, hindi ako kasama dyan. In fact, ang panawagan ko pa rin hanggang sa ngayon, and I mentioned this several times, kahit na nga si Gutesa, hindi naman nagsabi na may dinideliver na pera kay BBM. Wala namang ganun, no? And ako, kahit ako, hindi ko rin, kung ano lang yung sinabi ni Gutesa, yun lang din ang sinasabi ko. May delivery ng pera daw kay Saldico, may tumatanggap, si Mark Teksay at saka si Paul Estrada, tapos niladala nila kay Speaker Romualdez. Tinanong ko siya, sino nagdadala ng pera? Ang sabi niya, sir, wala akong maalala. Ang naalala ko lang noon, si Eric Yap. Nagdala ng, if I'm not mistaken, 48 suitcases, tapos sinabi niya yung laman ng pera. So, consistently, ito yung sinasabi ko. Ngayon, yung rally na to against corruption, totoo nakasama ako. Pero, mismo naman ang presidente, di ba sabi niya na itong corruption na to, ilabanan natin. Pero nagkakataon, and I will be the first one to admit, siyempre pagka against corruption, nagsasama-sama, may mga iba-ibang pananaw yung mga organizations. May iba, ang gusto, to be honest, parehong resign, BBM, resign, Inday. Yung iba naman, Inday. Yung iba naman, may talaga nagsasalita, revolutionary government, may mga nagsasalita, kung ano-ano. Of course, you cannot avoid that. Pero ang bottom line, and I always tell them, mag-stick tayo sa issue talaga na kinaharap ng bansa, which is the problem of corruption. Yung organized corruption na nakikita natin, na lahat naman ang nagsasabi. I heard Senator Drilon na nagsabi na grabe talaga itong nagiging corruption and everyone else. So, tingin ko, walang political color, huwag tayong mag-isip ng pula, dilaw, o yung mga green. Ito lang, focus tayo sa corruption. As to, sabi nga itong gagawing pagkilos, tingin ko kailangan madinig ng gobyerno that they have to act. Hindi pwedeng may script, hindi pwedeng merong pagtatakpan, hindi pwedeng may itatago. They really have to punish kung sino yung kailangan parusahan. Tingin ko, pagka ganito ang nangyari, makakalma ang taong bayan. Pero hanggat nakikita nila na parang iba yung nagiging takbo ng investigasyon o iba yung mga nagiging pag-aaral o yung kaso, medyo hindi maganda. For example na lang, Ma'am Ami, nung kailan lang nakita ko, ang mastermind na ay si District Engineer Alcantara. Wala namang papayag ng ganun. District Engineer ng isang probinsya, Bulacan, hindi nga regional naging mastermind na ang buong flood control ghost projects. Yun yung mga bagay na gusto ko lang na i-address sa issue na to.
Let me bring in si Ronald Llamas is now with us. Late ka dumating. May babato ka ba?
Parang patapos na to no? Pero ang tanong ko kay Congressman Mike, Congressman, sasama ba kayo sa prayer rally ng 3 araw? Parang hindi ko kayo nakikita na nagpe-pray ng 3 araw para sa kapayapaan. Kakanta ba kayo dyan ng kumbaya? No, ano bang kwento dyan? Tapos ang balita ko, kung ay imbis na 3 araw, parang 1 araw na lang daw.
Ang nangyari dalawa kasi yung magiging rally. Isa yung doon sa Quirino, which is entirely led by the Iglesia ni Cristo, at dito nga sa EDSA. Ito naman, ang nangunguna dito, yung UPI, yung United People's Initiative. So, ganun, may iba-ibang grupo to sa Llamas, no? Hindi naman to hindi isang organisasyon lamang. Kaya kuminsan, siyempre, tinitemper namin yung mga salita hindi ko tinitemper individually, pero kumbaga as an issue nung pagkakaisa namin, focus tayo dun sa korupsyon. Focus tayo dun sa mga kailangan magbayad sa problema ng korupsyon na kinabibilangan natin ngayon.
So, pwede niyong sabihin na congressman with a straight face na walang destabilization
dyan? EDSA ako, Ma'am Ami. EDSA po ako.
EDSA? Yung sa EDSA.
Sa EDSA, Ma'am, ako pupunta.
Saka, anong participation niyo? Are you one of the... isa ba po kayo sa mga nagpipinance o yung nagbibigay ng mga suporta, mga logistics? Ano po yung role niyo doon?
Ma'am, kinonvene namin yung People's Coalition, andun yung UPI, si General Pokis nandun, si Greco Belica naman from the People's Council. So, tulong-tulong lang, ma'am, kung ano yung mga kailangan. Yung iba sa program, yung iba sa logistics, yung iba sa sound and stage. Ambag-ambag lang. And then, syempre, ma'am, parang, yun nga, yung messaging, yung theme ng rally, ito yung mga bagay na kailangan magkaayusan dahil nga, alam mo naman ma'am, kuminsan talagang pagka ganitong iba-ibang grupo, iba-iba yung pananaw, nagkakagulo.
Kong, can you say it with a straight face na walang destabilization dyan sa mga rally na parating ng Lunes hanggang Miyerkules? Dahil nga yung in-interview nung isang araw, si ex-General Pokis, inaamin naman niya na merong mga plano na withdrawal of support, di ba? At mukhang kasama naman siya dyan sa rally. So, paano matidistinguish? Sino ba ang for destabilization? Sino ba ang para sa kapayapaan, mga dasal para sa kapayapaan? Sinong anti-corruption? O halo-halo na yan?
Ano to, Sek Ronald, nung kinausap nga natin si General Pokis, ang sinabi niya, they met with General Bronner. Wala daw silang sinabi na withdrawal of support. Ang sabi niya, magsalita naman kayo on the problem of corruption. And ang sagot naman ng General Bronner, nadidinig naman namin ang hiniing ng tao, hindi naman kami bulag, pipi at bingi. And then sabi daw niya, alam din namin yung mandato namin to protect and serve the people based on the Constitution. So, siguro, Sek Ronald, paano ko ba sasabihin?
Pero
like for example,
one point lang, Kong.
Barsaga.
Kong, sandali lang. Sabi ni General Bronner kasi, hinihimok siya para sumama sa coup. Ibig sabihin, sinungaling si General Bronner? Yun yung sinabi niya in public.
Si General Pokis dyan, ang sabi niya, 7 daw ang kasama niyang retired generals and kasama daw ni General Bronner mga yung battle commanders niya. Kaya daw lahat nakarinig na gano'n at wala daw usapan ng withdrawal of support. Ngayon, doon kunyari yung tanong niyo about kung sino magsasalita. Si Kong Kiko Barsaga, for example, and he's been very vocal, talagang sinasabi niya, si BBM ang may problema ng korupsyon, siya ang kumbaga punot dulo ng lahat. May mga ganyan talaga. And hindi ko naman pwedeng sabihin na Kong Kiko, di ba, walang base yan sinasabi mo, nirerespeto ko yung kanyang opinion, nirerespeto ko yung kanyang pananaw. So tama yung mo Kong Ronald, talaga medyo halo-halo to ang mga grupo na nandito.
Di ba medyo magulo yung messaging na yon? Kasi siyempre may mga tao rin na, of course, pag natanggal si BBM, ang papalit si Sara Duterte, which puts politics into the anti-corruption protest.
Yes. Correct, Mami. And nag-agree po ako sa inyo. Kaya nga ang dapat lang talaga, in fact, yung messaging na binanggit ko, it's individual position yun ng mga tao, like what happened in the EDSA 2, kanya-kanya rin naman may iba-iba silang disposition when it happened. Pero at that time, ang naging focus doon was the second envelope ng Senate Estrada hearing. Pero in this particular case, ang dapat at kailangan lamang ay sagutin yung problema ng korupsyon. And ako, yun ang paniniwala ko. And I think, not din sa mga rallies, but even for the administration, pag nakita naman ng taong bayan na may substantial na pananagutan, na may substantial na ginagawa para talagang kunin yung dapat managot, mananahimik din ang taong bayan.
Sir, ako last question from me and then I'm afraid we're out of time already. So you're saying, Bale, na hindi katanggap-tanggap sa mga tao na si Alcantara lamang ang punot-dulo ng lahat. But how far do you think, your group, how far do you think it should go?
Ako, Ed, I cannot speak for the group, pero naniniwala ako kay Sergeant Gutesa. Yung delivery ng pera, naniniwala ako doon. From Saldico to Speaker Martin, naniniwala ako na may nangyaring ganon. And lahat naman sa Kongreso, kahit natanongin mo yung mga kasama doon, alam nila yan Diba? 25-30%, bilihan ng kontrata, magdi-deliver ka. As to where the money goes, yun nga, kay Saldico. Alam din ni Mark Texa yan, alam ni Paul Estrada. Paano dinideliver doon kay Speaker Martin? Kinuwento ni Gutesa yun, all they have to do is ask the other people involved. Malalaman natin lahat yung katotohanan. Tingin ko, etong mga to naman ay hindi matatago. And yun ang aking paniniwala. And again, sana wag na rin umabot sa kung ano man yung sitwasyon natin. Kasi ako naman, Ed, Ma'am Ami, Sec Ronald, ang ayoko rin ng magulong bansa Nakita ko yan kay Cory, nung tapos ni Marcos. Kay GMA, nakita ko rin yan Nung pumasok yung EDSA 2, and then si ERAP, and it was constitutional, Sinabi pa nila constitutional, pero yung talagang dire-diretsong away, dire-diretsong kaguluhan. Para sa akin, hanggat maayos natin yung bansa, magkaroon ng eleksyon na maayos sa darating na panahon, walang problema. But the government has to really address the problem of corruption. Pag hindi, taong bayan ang kikilos.
Hindi na lang, no? Pahabol. Dahil yung tanong ko kanina, hindi mo nasagot eh. Itong rally ba na ito bilang isa sa organizer ay isang araw o 3 hanggang 5 araw? Dahil mahalaga yan doon sa binabanggit mo na ayaw mo ng gulo eh. Dahil kung isang araw lang, malamang isang normal na rally yan. Kung 3 hanggang 5 araw yan, style EDSA 1, EDSA 2, EDSA 3 yan. No? So, ano ba talaga yung rally? Dahil may nababalitaan ako, isang araw na lang daw. So, yan ba ay isang araw, 3 araw, o 5 araw? Konektado yan doon sa sinasabi mo na posibleng gulo na mangyari.
November 16, 17, and 18. Yung na talagang araw. On the 16th, magsisimula kami ng alas 4, and then dire-diretso na, 17 and 18.
So, 3. Okay, sige, we have to leave it there. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us this afternoon. I'm sorry, we're already out of time. We're over time. But maraming salamat, Congressman Mike Defensor. At thank you for joining us. Ami Pamintuan, editor ng Philippine Star. At ang ating humabol na political heckler, si Tito Rol Llamas. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Sorcon. I'm Ed Lincao. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.